Hi, it's Dr. Martha Lucas, licensed acupuncturist and practitioner of Chinese medicine, and this is my podcast, Energy Medicine Woman. Today's topic is called post-pandemic transformation, and what I'm doing here is realizing that we've all pretty much been traumatized over the last year, some more than others. Some people probably had a great year. Apparently, there have been businesses that have been great and families who haven't been affected by the COVID-19 virus at all. But I feel like many people these days are the emotional equivalent of a car with a cracked windshield. We're going through daily life, but feel like one good knock could just shatter us. Now, we know that the number of coronavirus cases are declining, but we've still had over 500,000 deaths in our country, and we have new variants to think about. Even if you haven't lost a loved one, it can still be hard to shake that idea that no one's luck lasts forever. So a lot of times when we think a disaster is coming, we prepare, right? You take extra batteries, or you pack extra granola bars in case you get lost, or put duct tape in the car. But for something like what has happened over the last year and a half with COVID, the pandemic, that was not really something we were prepared for. And frankly, we were not prepared for grief. I mean, there is something called anticipatory grief, but usually that's studied or found in places like hospice, where the loss of your loved one or your friend is imminent. But right now, what we're experiencing is pretty nebulous. We are not sure what is going to happen. We're not certain even if an event is going to happen. And as I said, even if you didn't lose a friend or a family member, that doesn't mean you are not going to experience grief, because at its core, grief is a reaction to a change that you did not want or ask for. Okay, we'll say that again. Grief is a reaction to a change that you did not want or ask for. I didn't ask for my business, the teaching part of my business, to be basically non-existent. People who've been in business for a long, long time did not ask or expect for them to have to close their doors, even if it was just a temporary close. So there's grief in that. There's disappointment in that. We've been disappointed by missing seeing people, missing hugging grandchildren, missing holiday celebrations, or, as I said, some people have lost their homes and their jobs and loved ones. So we have grief all around us. Grief is unique to everyone. I actually have a patient whose wife lost her brother, and she doesn't understand why her husband isn't the same as her in her grief. She thinks he doesn't care. Well, that's because grief is unique to everyone. What works for one person may not work for another person. One person may feel like they need to cry a lot, and the other person feels like they don't have to cry about it. So, some people feel like if I go do something, it'll make me feel better, when other people just would rather sit and kind of be with their grief. And that's partly, I think, because in our culture, we tend to think of painful emotions as bad. But that's not really true. It may be true that they're painful, but we can learn from them. Next time you feel something unpleasant, for example, sit for a minute, take a moment to sit with that and think about what you're feeling, how you're feeling it, why you're feeling it. But grief is uncomfortable, and some people are uncomfortable being around uncomfortable emotions. So the problem is that this person who's feeling the grief is kind of in a storm, right? They're in a storm of discomfort, and we shouldn't minimize that. We live in a society that minimizes grief. We try to stay ahead of it. We try to not feel it, but it's always there, even if it's chasing us. So sometimes we have to be willing to run into the grief and experience the grief. It's often also important to nurture your network. We are not meant to be alone when we're in grief. We are not meant to be islands of grief. We need people. We need to know, we need other people to know that our loved one's life mattered to us. Our loved one's death mattered to us. Our loss mattered to us. If we lost a business or lost a friend, other people can witness our pain. Now, as I said, sometimes it's very uncomfortable for other people to witness our pain, but that's why we try to find a nurturing group, a nurturing community for ourselves. Also, try not to make the future feel overwhelming. So this can happen also. We have our loss and we just feel like anything in the future, we just need to distance it. We just need to put it far away from us so that we feel like we'll be comfortable. But again, the future is now. The future is every day. So maybe try to let nature help navigate you through your grief. For example, get out in nature. Go for a walk. Maybe you do try to find someone to go for a walk, a 20-minute walk break. Take a field trip outdoors. Parks or nature, parks and nature is, or being outside is a large enough container to hold our grief. It will not be so much a part of ourselves. So trying to, grief can be a lifelong thing, but it changes over time. We are very, very resilient. So think about how you're going to help yourself get over your grief. As I said, even if you haven't lost a loved one or a friend, there is grief I get a little bit I feel some grief every time I pass through a homeless camp in our neighborhood, because I am so, so sorry for those people. I see all their stuff. I realize that they just lost their house or just lost their apartment and have nowhere else to go. And that makes me feel grief. So I speak to other people about it. One of the things we need to do is have a community, right? Now that a lot of people are vaccinated and things are more open, we can be with our friends. Those neighbors that we haven't had over for dinner for a year, we can do that, even if we still want to do it outside. But think about hugging. Oh, I am just hugging everyone that I can hug right now, because I need that community. And don't be afraid to chat with a stranger either. I've noticed for the last 14 months that people look down a lot now when they're walking by. They have their mask on, they give their 6-foot berth and look down. Well, I look at people. I've always looked at people, but especially now, I look at the person in the eye who's coming near me or is going to pass me, because I want to say hi. I want to interact with people. We need to reconnect, strike up new conversations. We need to fill up our emotional batteries, or recharge rather our emotional batteries. Get a sense of fulfillment and purpose and happiness back. That's what flourishing is. We've spent, a long time in the pandemic just pretty much full of awfulness, in my opinion. And now it's time for us to flourish. It's time for us to get back into activities. It's time to ask yourself, do I wake up ready to start my day, or would I rather go back to sleep? In other words, do you have a sense of purpose for your day, or is it completely meaningless? That's important to know for your own mental health. So purpose has a lot to do with how to keep us happy. Also, celebrate small things. Celebrate that first time you can give someone a hug. Savor that, okay? I know psychologists have said for years to look at photos of vacations and kind of do mindful photography, which does improve people's moods. When they look at photos that they were savoring an activity, they were having fun with friends and family, reflecting on good times. Also, I know you've heard an awful lot, including, I'm sure I've mentioned it over time and even before the pandemic, gratitude. Remember back in the beginning of the pandemic, how it was 8 p.m. in my city, we had the howling and the clapping for the healthcare workers. That was a daily gratitude ritual. Then we got away from it, right? We don't do it anymore. In fact, we haven't done it for months. But again, figure out some gratitude ritual. And instead of having it be a standalone thing, because that kind of sounds like, oh, here she is again, telling me to do another thing, stack it on another activity. Like if you have a family Sunday night dinner, stack a gratitude ritual onto that. Like, hey, everybody, what's one thing you were grateful for this week? So make that a habit, but if you stack it onto some other habit, it won't seem like such a big deal, or someone adding another activity into your life. And then, of course, there's doing good deeds, right? Donate blood, help a friend do something, write a thank you note, send somebody a birthday card. Now everything is so much email that I think people really, really appreciate a physical card, even just to say, hi, I'm thinking about you, or send a friend an email link to a podcast that you think would help them. Those are all ways to help you feel better, feel calm, feel like you have a purpose. So just finding a purpose in everyday routines, feeling happy. People with a sense of purpose tend to feel happier than those who just think there isn't anything for them to do in life. And that's how people are going to flourish. Okay, you don't need to win the Olympics or win a gold medal. You just need to do something that is fulfilling to you. It can be any sort of a small project. So I just want to remind us that it's time now for us to get back to flourishing. Sometimes we do have to change our behaviors a little bit, take advantage of opportunities that are open now, try a new recipe, anything simple like that. It shows that we are interested in life. Okay, the pandemic has challenged us because we haven't been able to pursue a lot of our previous interests, haven't been able to travel, haven't been able to play sports with each other. So now we can get back into that, get back into doing things with people, even seek out new interests. So, in the morning when you wake up and you are ready to have a meaningful day, you are ready to have a sense of purpose, no matter how small it is. Like I said, trying a new recipe, you can ask yourself, how do I want to spend my time? And also have that gratitude, give yourself a pat on the back when you complete a project, for example, and always remember that if you are in grief, if you are sad, if you need to speak with someone, have that circle of trusted loved ones, trusted friends with whom you can speak. Also, give me a call or email me. My email address is drmlucas@acupuncturewoman.com, drmlucas@acupuncturewoman.com. One of my specialties is resolving the energetic patterns of trauma, which, believe me, I've seen a lot of during this pandemic. Many, many people have gone back to kind of a fear-based way of living. Their core, their fire in their belly is scattered because of the events of the pandemic. So that can be resolved, and I am happy to help you do that. My website is acupuncturewoman.com. I am also Your Wellness with Dr. Martha on Instagram. And I wish you the best and take care and flourish.